Looking live as protesters continue to gather outside the Supreme Court after that 5-4 decision from justices to overturn Roe v. Wade, the landmark ruling that established the constitutional right to an abortion. Thank you for being here with us on this Friday night. I'm Lorenzo Hall. Clearly, this is an emotional night, no matter where you stand on this decision. Our team is covering every possible angle with context. Our Scott Broom and Abby Larico are talking with people on both sides of this issue tonight. But I want to start with our Bruce Leshan. He's here to break down that ruling for us. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, Lorenzo. Republicans have spent decades building a Supreme Court majority willing to throw out what had been a constitutional right for half a century. Today, they succeeded.
Cheers.
Justice!
And jeers.
I'm 21 and I'm terrified!
Illegitimate!
As Americans reacted to a judicial earthquake that could shake our politics, impact tens of millions of women, and lead to almost total bans on abortion in nearly half the states. 13 have trigger laws that can take effect immediately.
What about incest?
What about rape?
If the mother's dying, it's a late-term abortion.
Justice Alito wrote the opinion, joined by Justice Thomas and 3 Trump-appointed justices, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Coney Barrett. The Chief Justice tried to carve out a middle ground, and the 3 liberals fiercely dissented. Roe was egregiously wrong from the start, wrote Alito. Its reasoning was exceptionally weak, and the decision has had damaging consequences. And far from bringing about a national settlement of the abortion issue, Roe and Casey have inflamed debate and deepened division. It is time to heed the Constitution and return the issue of abortion to the people's elected representatives.
With this decision, the conservative majority of the Supreme Court shows how extreme it is, how far removed they are from the majority of this country. But this decision must not be the final word.
The 3 liberal justices say the decision has upset a delicate balance that stood for 50 years. It says that from the very moment of fertilization, a woman has no rights to speak of. A state can force her to bring a pregnancy to term, even at the steepest personal and familial cost.
What this means to women is such an insult.
Democrats will try to enshrine the rights in Roe in legislation. But if Republicans take control of Congress in the midterms, they may well push for a national abortion ban.
Our work is far from done.
Already in Virginia, Governor Youngkin's administration is talking about a ban on abortions after 15 weeks. And about 20 states are now considering bans or restrictions on abortion pills, which are currently used in about half of all abortions. President Biden slammed what he called extremist governors trying to check the mail or look in people's medicine cabinets. The president directed Health and Human Services to ensure medication abortion drugs are available to the fullest extent possible. Lorenzo?
Yeah, seems like everyone's trying to process this ruling and make adjustments immediately. All right, Bruce, thank you so much. All right, take a look at this map with me here. Today's ruling is expected to lead to abortion bans in roughly half of the country. 13 of those states you see right there have so-called trigger laws, which means all or nearly all abortions in those states are banned as of now or will be shortly because Roe was overturned. Now let's go back live to the Supreme Court right now. Our Scott Broom is there talking with people who are against abortions. And Scott, they are clearly celebrating, but this isn't the end for them either.
No, it's not the end for them, and that crowd has largely moved on because the crowd I'm in right now in front of the Supreme Court is very much dominated by very disappointed and angry pro-choice demonstrators. There's a lot of anger, emotion, and there's some profanity, so we apologize for that in advance. On the other side of this, one of the larger groups that gathered to celebrate the decision decided they were badly outnumbered, so rather than engaging in shouting matches here in front of the Supreme Court, they decided to go on the road essentially and take themselves to stage a march. That group is studentsforlife.org. They snaked around 3rd Street behind the court and eventually ended up over at Union Station. Here is what organizer Titus Folks told me about that.
We hired security for the first time. We've been doing these rallies for years, but we had 10 security guards with us this entire time, and we hire them all events going forward. When we're doing protests in state capitals, we're bringing security guards because we've had staff members and students assaulted in the last couple months.
How have things been? Can you stop that, please?
Stop.
Sir, stop. Stop. Why don't you stop?
She's literally just.
You can see there we witnessed some tense moments between groups today, but we didn't see any violence, and U.S. Capitol Police are here and forced to keep it that way. Now, anti-abortion rights protesters who stayed here told us the Supreme Court decision is, quote, a victory for morality and jurisprudence. The activists among them are now saying they are preparing for protests and demonstrations across the country as this debate moves to state capitals and state legislatures all across the country. So in their mind and the minds of folks here who are in support of the right to choose, all of them are now beginning to focus on individual states where the debate is now open, and they're going to be staging very similar protests in places like that across the country. Reporting live in front of the Supreme Court, Scott Broom, WUSA 9.
It's clear we're going to be seeing more of this. Scott, thank you so much. I want to bring in our Abby Larico now. She's talking to people who support abortion rights. And Abby, what are they telling you tonight?
Well, so they are not trying to go home without a fight, and if they do, they're planning to bring that fight with them, because they say just because this ruling was issued today does not mean this case is settled, does not mean that this fight is over for them in one way or another. They're going to keep this moving here outside the Supreme Court. In fact, the crowds have only grown throughout the day, though, as Scott mentioned, what started as a relatively mixed group has become mostly.
It breaks my heart. I mean, I grew up, like I said, 6 blocks from the Capitol, and I spent my childhood going here on field trips and feeling like this was the change for good, and this is why we can move forward and evolve. And all of a sudden, it just feels like, what happened? This is not the world I want my daughter to grow up in.
It's about just being there for each other and just like letting them cry and letting the emotions flow, and then after just being ready for actions.
Throughout today, we've talked to Hill interns, we've talked to tourists, people who are local, faith leaders even, all of whom say the most important thing for them.
All right, that was our Abby Larico reporting there from outside of the Supreme Court. Abby, thank you so much. And you know, political leaders all across our region are speaking out on the Supreme Court's decision today. D.C.'s Mayor Muriel Bowser tweeted, quote, Washington, D.C. is a proud pro-choice city and access to abortion is still legal here. This is about health care. This is about women's rights. This is about bodily autonomy. A majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to choose. This fight is urgent, but not over. Now, Maryland Governor Larry Hogan is in Europe on an economic development mission, and today he released this statement about today's court rulings. In 1992, Maryland voters approved a constitutional referendum legalizing and protecting access to abortion as a matter of state law. That measure remains in effect today following the Supreme Court decision in Dobbs versus Jackson. Now, I swore an oath to uphold the Constitution and the laws of Maryland, and that is what I have always done and will continue to do as governor. Now, as for Virginia, let's go live now to our Colby Satterfield in Arlington. She has reaction from state lawmakers and Governor Glenn Youngkin, and the difference here in Virginia, Colby, is they're talking about making some changes, or at least trying to.
Lorenzo, yes, they are, and there are vastly different discussions happening on both sides of the aisle today. Governor Glenn Youngkin is seeking a 15-week abortion ban, while Democrats are saying that Virginia is still a safe haven, and the Democratic caucus still has the votes to strike down any single proposal relating to such in committee. Today's decision does not change the law in Virginia. However, Governor Youngkin says he's already asking several state senators and delegates to draft legislation for when the General Assembly returns in January, saying in a statement, quote, the Supreme Court of the United States has rightfully returned power to the people and their elected representatives in the states. I'm proud to be a pro-life governor and plan to take every action I can to protect life. The truth is, Virginians want fewer abortions, not more abortions. The governor also adding in a statement, Virginians want fewer abortions. State Senator Scott Serville disagrees, calling today's Supreme Court decision radical and saying the country is entering dangerous waters.
To the extent there's any good news out of this, is that this doesn't change the law in Virginia. The law in Virginia, women will still have the ability to make their own decisions and their own choices when it comes to this issue. And so I do think, though, you're gonna see a lot more people coming into Virginia to have abortion procedures because of where Virginia is positioned regionally.
State Senator Serville is also highlighting the importance of the 2023 election, saying that abortion rights could take center stage. Live in Arlington, Colby Satterfield, WUSA 9.
All right, this is certainly a political issue. Colby, thank you so much. Right.